Horman says she took 7-year-old Kyron to his school science fair at Skyline Elementary. She says she brought him inside and took photos. She says her last memory of Kyron is seeing the back of his head as he walked toward the door of his schoolroom. She says if I could do anything differently, I would keep Kyron home that day. That is something you go back again and again. What if? What if I didn't wear makeup that day? What if I took 5 minutes to put makeup on? Would that have changed everything? Would that have changed the butterfly effect? 3 weeks into the investigation, Horman was asked to take her first polygraph test. She answered all the questions and then was told that she failed the polygraph.
Kyron Horman was born to Desiree Young and Kane Horman on September the 9th of 2002 in Portland, Oregon. Kyron Horman was 7 years old when he disappeared from Skyline Elementary School in Portland, Oregon on June 4th of 2010 after attending a science fair. To this day, Kyron's whereabouts are unknown. Kyron's case has been one of the most scrutinized and talked about cases in Oregon's history. It's been about 11 years since Kyron was last seen, and there are still unanswered questions, and we still don't know what happened to little Kyron. No one has been charged to this day. Let's take a look at the timeline and what we know. I'll also go over some theories and speculations. Now, let's start from the beginning. Kyron's stepmom, Terri Horman, and let me go ahead and get this out of the way real quick. Kyron's dad, Kane, had full custody of Kyron, so Kyron lived full-time with his dad and his stepmom, Terri. And this is only because Kyron's mom, Desiree, was diagnosed with kidney failure, and she didn't want Kyron to be in harm's way while under her care, since she was known to pass out due to her medical issues, and she also had to travel to Canada for medical treatment. So I wanted to get this out of the way for those not familiar with why Dad Kane had custody of Kyron at this time. So, as I was saying, Terri, Kyron's stepmom, drove Kyron to school on Friday, June the 4th of 2010. Terri took Kyron, he was a second grader, and she took Kyron early that morning so that he could tour a science fair that was set for that afternoon. Terri took a photo of Kyron this day in front of his poster about tree frogs. This is the last known photo of Kyron. Kyron was seen around 8:15 a.m. that morning by the PTA president with his stepmom, Terri, in front of his exhibit. Terri said she left the school at 8:45 a.m. after watching Kyron walk towards his classroom. At 9 a.m., a student reported seeing Kyron near a south entrance in the school. The sheriff said that was the last time Kyron was seen, but authorities later retracted that statement. Kyron's class began at 10 a.m., and sometime after that, his homeroom teacher marked him absent. At 1:21 p.m., his stepmother, Terri, posted a photo of Kyron and his project to her Facebook page. At 3:30 p.m., Terri and Kane, Kyron's dad, went to meet the school bus. At that time, they discovered Kyron wasn't on the bus and had been marked absent at school for that day. At 3:46 p.m., the school secretary called 911 to report Kyron missing. About 45 minutes later, officers arrived both at Skyline Elementary and at Kyron's house. Around 7 p.m., a formal missing person search for Kyron was coordinated. The FBI was also alerted. By 10:40 that night, a complete search of the school and Kyron's house had been completed. About 3 weeks after Kyron disappears, Kyron's dad, Kane, moves out of the family house with his and Terri's 19-month-old daughter. Shortly after, Kane files a restraining order against Terri, and he files for divorce. On July 16th, Terri is ordered to move from the family house. She does so, and Kane and their daughter then move back into the house the next day. Kane is awarded custody of his and Terri's daughter. Terri was allowed strictly supervised visitations. So let's fast forward a little bit. Terri, she tried to get her name changed in 2014. Terri Horman requested a name change. She wanted it changed to Claire Sullivan due to the stigma, she says, of the last name Horman. A judge denied Terri's request for a name change. She filed again in November, but she withdrew that request. On June 4th of 2019, Kyron's mom, Desiree, announced that authorities have narrowed the search for Kyron to less than 100 acres. There has been a plethora of searches since Kyron disappeared in 2010. To date, there have been no arrests in connection to Kyron's disappearance. The Sheriff's Department released a statement on the 10th anniversary of the case and said that they are as dedicated now as they were in 2010. He states that Kyron's case remains open and active. Anyone with information is urged to call 503-988-0560. Kyron would have graduated high school last year in 2020. His family, they're keeping hope that Kyron will be found soon. Desiree, Kyron's mom, wrote a letter to her little boy, and here's what she wrote to Kyron. She says, "I would give anything to run my fingers through your short hair again. I miss having you to hug anytime I want. Nighttime is always hard for me. I miss you so much. I want you back here so that I can protect you from all of the horrible things in this world. I just can't believe that you aren't still with us. I pray that you come back to me because I am afraid that I can't live without you. I miss you every second of every day. I would give my life for yours. I just want you back safe. You must come back to us." Now, let's take a look into the much talked about stepmom Terri. Terri has since remarried and she resides in California per her Facebook page. So I did find her Facebook page and it does show that she lives in California. And here's some things to keep in mind about Kyron's stepmom Terri. And again, she dropped Kyron off at school that day. To our knowledge, she's the last one that seen Kyron. So keep that in mind. Well, on July 4th, 2010, Terri's previous landscaper came forth and said that Terri approached him with a murder for hire plot about 6 to 7 months before Kyron disappeared. He says Terri offered him a large sum of money. Now, law enforcement did try to, set this landscaper up, wire him, and talk to Terri. And unfortunately, I guess Terri, figured, hey, something's going on. So, of course, she would not talk about it. But nonetheless, they did try. And law enforcement started putting pressure on some of Terri's friends. One particular friend was then 43-year-old Dee Dee. Dee Dee was present at Terri's house immediately after Kane moved out. She drove Terri to and from the attorney's office, but not only that, some reported that Dee Dee left in the middle of her work for approximately an hour and a half, and when she was gone, her employer tried to call her, and she did not answer the phone during this time either. But that was the day that Kyron went missing. Several individuals also seen her the day Kyron disappeared. Police did search her condo. Oh, and Dee Dee also allegedly bought herself and Terri a burner phone since she knew law enforcement was tapping Terri's phone. Terri remarried on March 17, 2018. She married a man named Jose Vasquez in Clark County, Nevada. As I mentioned earlier, per Facebook page, they do reside in California. Terri took 3 polygraph tests. She failed the first 2. Her reasons for failing were she's deaf and relied mainly on lip reading and was unable to read lips because the person conducting the test stood behind her. And then she walked out on that 3rd polygraph test. And in Terri's September of 2016 interview with Dr. Phil, she tells Dr. Phil she believes Kyron was kidnapped by someone in a white pickup truck. Ironically, Terri drove a white pickup truck at the time Kyron went missing. And Kyron's mom, Desiree, she's made it very clear that she feels Terri knows what happened to Kyron, and she's adamant that Terri is lying. And she also says that Terri has not been cooperative with the police in all of this. Now, Kyron's dad, Terri's now ex-husband, he says he believes Terri is involved in the disappearance of his son, Kyron. Remember I mentioned Kane was awarded custody of his and Terri's daughter? It makes me wonder, what evidence do they have against Terri that Kane would have received custody of their daughter? It just really makes me wonder. And according to a book written, and this was also, I think that Kyron's mom, Desiree, had a paragraph that she had put in the book, but it's called Boy Missing, and it's about Kyron. And the book provides details that several people saw Kyron leaving school that morning with his stepmother, Terri. These people included Kyron's bus driver, a classmate, and two of the classmates' family members. They say they witnessed Kyron walking with his stepmother through the school parking lot. And also on that day Kyron went missing, there's about a 1.5 hour discrepancy around 10:10 a.m. to I think 1:40 p.m. where Terri, her whereabouts are unaccounted for. She said that she was driving the area, or driving her daughter, whom had an earache, trying to soothe her earache. But remember, Terri's friend Dee Dee also was missing from her job for about an hour and a half. And Terri also said in some emails that Kyron had been acting weird in the previous 2 weeks, saying he would stare off into space and that he couldn't remember anything, and he would walk in a room, stop staring, then walk out. And I'm wondering, was Terri trying to lay out a plan? When she said that stuff, it kind of makes you wonder when we look back on it. And I also have, Dr. Phil, he said he pulled up some texts. 26 days after Kyron disappeared, Terri was sexting with one of her husband, Kane's, friends. So, instead of searching for her stepson, Kyron, she's sexting. So, again, this behavior. But let me know what you guys think happened to Kyron. Who do you think is responsible? Let me know in the comments. Let's discuss it. And again, if anyone has any information on Kyron, please call 1-503-261-2847, or you can dial 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST. Kyron needs found, and his family needs answers. More importantly, they need their son. They need their son back. They need closure. But let's end this with a clip of Kyron's mom speaking. And again, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this case. And as always, thank you guys for watching.
My message to everybody is, no matter what the outcome, no matter what Terri did that day, we still have to find Kyron. We still have to bring him home. We still need to get answers, and we still need to hold her accountable. So don't stop sharing his story. Don't stop sharing his flyers. Don't stop telling the story. Share it with all your friends. Just talk about it at a dinner and see how many people even know who Kyron is. We do that all the time. I'm in the grocery store, people see my button. Oh, do you know that little boy? I've been watching that story. Or sometimes they go, oh, what's your button about? I don't know about this. They don't know who Kyron is, every single person. So always share the story. It's so important. You never know when you're going to find that one person who has information or knows Terri or saw something, or who knows, saw somebody who was talking with Terri in that week, or whatever the case. You just don't know. Fate always steps in. It always has a hand in the conclusion and the answers. And if we're not sharing his story, we're not talking about it, we're not getting it out there, then that's when we're not helping Kyron.